There are times when we are faced with questions that are so deep and so profound that we have to sit and think and ponder. How could this possibly be? And in the case of one question we received on this channel from a member, well, we're all sitting and wondering, why is it that Lucasfilm doesn't want our money? Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of that culture curve. It will take you down with it if you're not careful, but we are here to throw the life raft of knowledge to you, lift you up above it, so that while your friends can't believe the stuff that's coming out of entertainment companies, you saw it coming a mile away. That's what we do here on the WDW Pro channel each and every day. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. Today, we have Views with Hughes and Valiant Renegade with us here to handle the cues from you, kind of rhymes with Views with Hughes, the cues from you, that being a special program we give to members of this channel at the Tier 2 level and higher, where each and every week they are able to send in their questions to be answered in a video such as this. We've done 2 in the past. They were both highly successful, and we're going to keep at it. So, gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Let's dive in. First question comes to us from Maverick Pilgrim. Will the Nintendo Cinematic Universe begin to skew to a more mature audience for Legend of Zelda and Metroid? Or will the NCU remain targeting the younger crowd and Nintendo diehards? Don't get me wrong, Maverick Pilgrim says, I loved the Super Mario Brothers movie, but it would be interesting to see Nintendo Illumination become the real US driver of animated for the PG-13 crowd, but not specifically be anime. Or maybe they do go anime or even live action. If they go that route, they could really directly challenge Marvel, in my opinion. And then Maverick Pilgrim, always the purveyor of excellent questions, says, what are your thoughts? Hughes, what do you think? Could Nintendo go in a more mature direction with the NCU?
The only way they will go ahead with the more mature direction are the ones that were the games that were rated RP, and there's hardly any games from Nintendo out there. So they may skew to, those like more along lines of PG, but I don't know about PG-13 because of the fact that with their history of games and stuff like Super Mario Brothers stuff, it did come off as comical, admittedly. Zelda, it does seem to be serious, but not PG-13 serious. Okay, so I'm doubtful, but most likely, I mean, if there's a way they can do that, then we'll have to see about that.
Valiant, what do you think? Are we going to get some sort of risque Bayonetta movie coming out for the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, or are we going to be sticking with family fare?
No, I don't think you're going to get anything quite like that. I think if anything, Legend of Zelda, Metroid would lend themselves more to the direction of PG-13. But I want to make it clear so people can delineate. PG-13 can encompass a great many different aspects. Obviously, Nintendo is not going to use, anything that's going to go down the sexual path. Yep. I can't see them going down the path of using profanity. Maybe, like a hell or a damn or something like that, but maybe only with Samus Aran. Where the PG-13 is going to come in for these films, if they go that route, is going to be, because standards have changed with the MPAA over the years, is that they actually have a thing called fantasy violence, right? Like Lord of the Rings, actually, I think, Return of the King especially, I think got PG-13 because of the fantasy violence. There wasn't a single cuss word, no sex, nudity, anything like that in it. It was just because it was swords cutting off heads of creatures.
Yeah,
and
those
stuff
elven
like
swords, they'll get you every time.
Yeah, they will. So that's the kind of thing that could get Zelda. It just depends what Nintendo wants to do. And the animation style, I would think, if they build out an NCU, the animation style from Super Mario to Zelda, they have to carry one to the other so they can be blended later. Otherwise...
Absolutely, because that's really the goal.
Yeah.
They do have some anime-themed games out there, so they could go in the balance of that, but that's depending on, like, the rating in the game and everything. If they're going to go PG, most likely it's going to be, like, rating RP from the games or mature from the games and everything, like I stated. But most likely, doubtful that it's going to be pushed to anything like PG-13. Now, the only movies that went to PG-13 based on video games or like even R-rated is Mortal Kombat.
Sure, sure. And I don't think the NCU is going to be moving towards mature content. Although we need to delineate these things, right? So you can have subject matter that is mature, as in it's not childish or comical. That doesn't have to be profane or overly violent, though. And so there needs to be a delineation between those. I don't think Nintendo is looking specifically to get an R rating or a PG-13 rating, but I don't think that every movie is going to be slapstick and silly.
I can see Pikmin like a South Park type of deal thingy. I don't know.
All right. Well, I would love to see that. I would love to see a Pikmin South Park. We're giving some ideas to Trey Parker and Matt Stone out there. All right. From Duncan Craig, he says, my question is a United Kingdom centric one. Do one of you know of the other 2000 AD characters other than Judge Dredd? And do you think they would transfer to a film setting? We have for years heard rumors about a rogue trooper film, and characters like Slane would hit the sword and sandals, sword and shields demographic sweet spot. Strontium Dog would be similar in the style to The Mandalorian. These are what I grew up reading in the late 70s onwards before we could really access Marvel and DC. A lot of their characters became celebrated Marvel DC writers since then. Valiant, what do you think? Is this prime real estate for perhaps studios to start looking into?
I certainly. I mean, I'll be straight honest with everybody. I'm not familiar with any of those characters terribly well, except for, of course, Judge Dredd. I'm a big Dredd fan. I even like the Sylvester Stallone movie from the 90s. It's got its charm and its place. I still enjoyed it. I love the Carl Urban one more, okay? And I was big. I'd love to see more of that stylistic attempt at films, and I think there's lots of good IP out there. And if we're kind of moving into into that realm now, Hollywood's got to find more things to do. If there's good stories out there, these adaptations, they need to go after something. So
now, what I would say is that companies have been looking to Japan to try to pilfer out the material that is not yet stained with the modern movements of the West. Mm-hmm. And so we have seen so many of our superheroes brand damaged by bad writing and people who want to put sociopolitical points into the new content. And that has led to companies looking to the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, looking to Sonic the Hedgehog, looking to anime. And I think that it's only a matter of time before they begin to look to stuff out of the United Kingdom and other places that has not yet been pulled into large format, cutting edge entertainment. And then maybe we will see those types of characters because we've desecrated the characters that we had before, right? The Supermans and the Batmans, they're having a hard time. Maybe we do go to these new super characters. Hughes, what do you think?
Several things. One, seems to me like no studios probably didn't want to touch that before because of the fact that no one really knew much about Judge Dredd and stuff until Sylvester Stallone or even Carl Urban. All right. And then you also have the fact that, these companies, movie companies, they fear that, people don't want to see them because they're not really familiar with them. I'm not familiar with them myself for the 2000 AD franchise, but it might be something I could look into, But as far as I'm concerned, it's like the executives probably didn't want to make anything or put it out there from that because not only the fact that people don't really may not know anything about that and they fear that they're not going to get much attention, but also we're not even sure what they're going to be able to do with it. Are they going to be, how true are they going to stay with the series and everything from the comics? How much it's like they're trying to figure a way how to put the current modern day politicization elements into these things and make it into them films. They probably don't even know how to put it out there. Okay. But if you have the right company do that, kind of like what Nintendo had Universal to do, maybe you can go ahead and work something out. Because it seems to me like they got me curious already.
Mario has taught us respect the source material. All right, going to our next question, we have Tommy Tables. Tommy says, can we talk a bit more about why Lucasfilm doesn't want to make money? Well, we sure can, Tommy. It turns out that Lucasfilm is doing just A-okay because they're being written off or handed large sums of cash by somebody out there. Valiant, Who is it that just keeps on bankrolling Lucasfilm?
Disney Plus, $12 billion in the hole and climbing.
Wait a minute, Valiant. Do you mean to tell me that they don't have to be successful with viewership or quality? They just get paid no matter what?
More or less.
How can that be?
Well, the way it works at all these places, I mean, and this is not just exclusive to Disney. This is Paramount. This is Universal with Peacock. This is, go on down the list. Who's ever got a proprietary streaming service that's a major Hollywood studio, right? What they do is they'll say, hey, we're going to order a show to be made by Universal Studios, and we're going to put it on Peacock. Peacock places the order, Universal Studios makes the project, or maybe it's a third party, and then at the end of the day, it's like a COD situation, right? Cash on delivery, and Peacock, or in this case Disney Plus, just pays the studio that made the product. So, I mean, that's kind of how it works. When Pixar makes something for Disney Plus, when Lucasfilm makes something for Disney Plus, that's it. So now, apart from that, Lucasfilm, of course, does have a lot of the merchandising stuff for Star Wars and things like that they're still receiving revenues on as a subsidiary of Disney. That, of course, is helping to pay the bills there. But if you think about it, Lucasfilm has not produced anything up until Indiana Jones 5 this summer. They have not produced anything that has made it to a theater in 4 years almost at this point. So that's third-party revenue. That's real outside revenue. That's people showing up to a theater and laying money down for a Lucasfilm project as opposed to going to a financial black hole like a streamer like Disney+.
Hughes, let's reverse the question. What do you think Lucasfilm needs to do in order to get consumers, not the mouse, but consumers paying for Lucasfilm content?
The only thing I could think of is for have Kathleen Kennedy to be gone. Okay.
Well, it's what a lot of people want.
Yeah, not only her, but also the whole storyboard crew. Okay. All the leaders, all the way from Pablo Hidalgo, all the way downward to the person that's getting Kathleen Kennedy her coffee. So that way we won't have the repeat mistake of having another executive to actually go ahead and make woke films. But I digress. But the thing is, the consumers aren't going to see it, aren't going to want to buy it because of the fact that not only do they not showing that they don't want the movie, especially with the leaks that's been put out there, but also it was revealed that they've also made the newer action figures. Okay, they're not going to want that. Why? Because you have an old Indiana Jones who that no one wanted, and then you also have Phoebe Waller-Bridge, her character as a figurine. Okay, so the merchandising is going to be doing well. The movies aren't going to sell because, as you've mentioned earlier from a previous video, a certain Mission Impossible 7 movie is looking to go ahead and overshadow the success. Right, but other than that,
that's right, Hughes, and that's a huge thing you bring up because it's a shot across the bow at the Hollywood old guard. Valiant Renegade also had a video on this, link in the description down below, but Tom Cruise and his company, they are coming at Kathleen Kennedy, Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford. This is not something that was to be done in the past. Now, we do have a guest who we are bringing in now to join us to talk about Lucasfilm and their craziness. Specifically, we know that there is possibly a moneymaker on the horizon, that being Return of the Jedi. At the time of this video's release, Return of the Jedi is in theaters. Surprise, surprise, for its anniversary celebration. And people can go and see Luke Skywalker in all his glory as he was intended before he got jaked. And my only thought now is, if it does well in theaters, if it comes back and does well, does Lucasfilm even get the right message? To help us answer that question, please welcome Tom Connors of Midnight's Edge.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Tommy boy.
Return of the Jedi returning to theaters. Desperate move, but I mean, it is an anniversary they can't ignore, I guess.
Exactly. And Tom,
they did very well with Return of the Jedi, or Empire Strikes Back as well. Sorry.
What do you think they have to do in order to convince consumers to spend again on Star Wars?
Boy, really, I think the problem is there's no kids that are really into Star Wars all that much anymore.
That's true. They've got a generational issue.
Yeah, they got a generation gap now, and the reason is that they left a lot of the original fans behind, so they in turn have not been passing it down to other generations on top of kids have so many choices of things to be into compared to what we were just talking about this recently on a show about how one of the biggest issues is that kids have so much vying for their attention now compared to, when we were all young.
And you're saying that Young Jedi Adventures set in the High Republic just isn't going to do it?
No, that's something that's only going to bring in somebody who's already kind of a fan of Star Wars or something like that. Just doesn't work within. That thing is one of the dumbest ideas they've had.
I agree. It looks awful.
Look, Muppet Babies works because the Muppets were a franchise that lent itself, and there was Sesame Street, so there was another kind of avenue for them.
Right.
Star Wars is more of you have gateway, and then from there you just go upwards, right? You can't dumb it back down to a kid level.
I just want to be in the meeting where somebody said, I want to be in the meeting where somebody said, you know what we could do? We could do Muppet Babies, and instead of Nanny, it's Yoda. Like, I want to be in that meeting. I want to hear that person. I just want to look at them and blink several times in stunned disbelief. All right, let's go to our next question, though. This one coming from Karen Owen. It's not really a question, but we are going to talk about it. Karen says she was going to ask about updates on the article back from 2021 about Bob Chapek wanting more Luke Skywalker and Iron Man. She says we did a good job covering it. However, I do want to give some extra attention to this. And here's what I would say. There was at one point a time, and we saw the repercussions of it. There was a time when Bob Chapek, coming into power, basically gave the mandate, we're going to use characters that are highly profitable. We're going to use the characters that our consumers want to see. And if you recall, he even put out a statement as such that they were no longer going to disregard the audience. However, after that, and remember we got Luke Skywalker. It seems to me that there were some attempts to get RDJ back in the future in this multiverse saga that we're doing now. But since then, we've had Robert Iger come into power, and I'm not sure that he holds those same opinions. Valiant, we haven't heard from you in a while. What do you think's going on over there with Disney in terms of their characters that are highly profitable and beloved? Why are they withholding those characters now?
Well, I think part of it is this desire to continue down a path that they started more recently, to where they want this new brand, and they're being convinced by, I think, a lot of bad hires inside the company or otherwise that they have to ditch all the old stuff.
I feel like every profanity in your mind had to go through there before you finally just paused and went, bad hires.
Bad hires, yeah. Bad hires. They just get rid of all the old stuff, like the Star Wars line, right? Kill
Those
the past, bury all that
snitches.
kind of stuff. And then you get to the point now where there's really nothing left. And they've got these characters that nobody wants to buy, that nobody cares about, but they're just.
You don't want Geode. You don't want the
Reva.
sentient rock. You don't want
Reva's the
Reva.
best.
No. I mean, that's nobody else does, obviously, and they want to.
You don't want this new flounder that looks like a dead fish. Dead fish flounder. You don't want that character.
Well, I guess Flounder is aptly named now, I guess.
That's right.
Well, let me put it this way. Look at the shelves. Look at one of Disney's biggest marketing partners, merchandise partners by leaps and bounds. Lego. Walk down the aisle at Target. They've got 2 or 3 aisles now that are nothing but Lego. And for every different IP out there that they've licensed to. Go find the Lego section with Star Wars. It is all classic Star Wars. All of the busts, the helmets are all OG. It's Skywalker's Red 5 helmet. It's Vader's helmet. It's Boba Fett's helmet. They have a Mando helmet. They got R2-D2. They've got Death Star. They've got Millennium Falcon. They've got the Death Star trench run set. They've got all this classic Star Wars stuff. There's not a damn thing there from the new brand of Star Wars. Lego's not licensing any of that. If they do, they're doing it in very small quantities, putting out limited sets because they've already had the experiences where they don't sell. They sit on the shelves and they get dumped at Ollie's or at Hudson's Discount Treasure Hunt shortly after they're there. So, I mean, the writing is on the wall there, but I think to some degree the merchandising partners are satisfied. It's like, look, y'all go do whatever you want. We're still selling the hell out of OG Star Wars. As long as we can keep putting it out there, we don't care. I think that may be to an extent part of it.
Hughes, how fast should they fire whoever is coming up with the dead flounder characters instead of putting out the stuff that people want?
Oh well, for one, it's the difference between who should, like how fast they should fire them versus how long it's going to really take for them to fire them, because of the fact that
You
all
don't
of
sound
this is.
optimistic. You don't
I,
sound like you think they're going to fire somebody in the near term over this.
how many years have we had Kathleen Kennedy's and her underlings to write the whole Star Wars franchise, the Disney Star Wars franchise?
That's a great point, Hughes. You're on point.
I mean, serious. I mean, it's like, okay, it's going to take a change, but it's going to be a slow change. Okay.
Maybe we should have Michael Jackson's song pumped through the audio all over there at Disney. Every single structure they have.
But look, the thing is, they're not going to want to go ahead and make these abrupt changes and everything, because they want to see, they got, first of all, contractual obligations, of course. They put the money for all the contracts been signed and everything. So, and any abrupt changes and everything, that's maybe the only time where they'll go ahead and make any surprise firings and everything. I'm talking Victoria Alonso level firings. Someone who's like the second tier is going to go, but the top person, Kathleen Kennedy, like Kevin Feige, is going to stay for a while. Okay, but other than that, it's like the only way for them to actually see that someone needs to go is like the fan reaction to it. I mean, we've already seen Willow being canceled on Disney Plus. Okay.
They had little choice on that one, I'll say. All three viewers were deeply wounded by it.
Devastated.
Yeah. So, and it's like, Kathleen Kennedy made this announcement at the Star Wars celebration over in Europe and everything. Trying to, like, rumors out there saying that she want to go ahead and did this move just to stay on Disney, stay at Lucasfilm longer. But the thing is, it's a matter of time where all of this start blowing up in Bob Iger's face. Why? Because of the fact that not only did he not make the necessary moves, but he's been quiet for a while, or maybe he is trying, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. Maybe he's actually trying to make some moves and everything, or plan some things under the table where we wouldn't really know anything about it until it actually happens.
Well, if that's the case, he's making a major gamble in Florida on pushing the country in a political position, because there are hundreds of billions of dollars on the line there. Tom, I'm noticing that at Disney, there are characters that are coming back. Frozen 3 on the way. Moana live-action remake. We're getting The Little Mermaid. Rey is coming to Star Wars. But where are all the boys' characters? What is going on, Tom?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if they've just decided to say to heck with trying to get the boys back on board, or they think by then they'll have most of the boys turned into girls, for lack of better terms. I don't know. I really
Hughes
don't know
has a comment. Hughes, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
They're trying to keep California politicians happy. That's what it is.
That's right.
Because
that's
the fact that
definitely true.
Because they don't care about what the rest of America think. They definitely don't care about what Floridians think. They don't care about people in Louisiana think. Sorry, Valiant. They don't care about what people in Virginia think, my home state. And they don't care about middle of America. Okay? They don't care about the Great Plains. Possibly those
South Dakotans don't have a voice.
Yeah.
I don't know, is it Idahoans? Idahoans, is that what we say? They don't have a voice.
They may appease some of those who may be in the New England area. I say some because there are those out there who hate woke content as well. But the thing is, they're trying to appease those who are in California, so that way they can go ahead and keep their current status and benefits with the different companies and everything to appease the different California state politicians.
There you go. It's different, a totally different culture leaking out across the country, I suppose, and hoping that Middle America will care. I don't think it's working. All right, let's take a look at our next question. This one from Descripto. Descripto says, at first I was going to ask about the Sega intellectual properties that got announced to be in the works for the big screen. Recommend the Yakuza games to everyone and ask for Detective Pikachu 2, lack of info. But I think it is better if I ask what is the worst case scenario if Ron DeSantis and Disney, for the people in the state of Florida, if those two entities go at each other, full nuclear. Valiant, I'm going to hand it just to you on this one. I'm going to let you answer it. We were on with Andrew of Legal Mindset. We did 3 hours, I believe, of dissecting this at a very high level. Again, link is in the description for the video if you want to go watch that, if you really want to know what's going on. But Valiant, given your broad knowledge of this topic, let me hand it specifically to you to answer this question. What does that look like, and are we already there?
I was going to say, you pulled the question down real quick, and I couldn't see it. I went to look back. I'm sorry.
Basically,
Yeah.
what does it look like if things go nuclear between Florida and, I guess, Reedy Creek?
And Reedy Creek, yeah.
Technically, but maybe Disney? We don't know, right? Which is which?
We're kind of already at the nuclear point, I think. I mean, it's like, look, they filed a lawsuit. I don't know where you go beyond this. Disney really can't do anything else, right, from a nuclear perspective, really, that doesn't severely damage their own business operations in Florida. So, and I don't think that the state is going to do anything that's going to damage Disney's business operations. Now, yes, they are going to levy new taxes on the properties to help pay for roads and infrastructure around there. They're going to maybe put up some tolls out there, things like that for the buses that use those roads. Infrastructure improvement, right? I don't know where we go beyond this. We have to wait for a federal judge at this point to do something. And as we discussed previously, I am just of the mindset, no matter who appointed this judge, and in this case, this is an Obama-appointed federal judge in Florida. Judges, they do not typically like to get involved, when things get to a point of being asked to overturn effectively what is it's a state law. They don't like jumping into state legislative action short of that legislative action absolutely, unequivocally, bright line test kind of thing violates a constitutionally protected right at the federal level. There's nothing in this, even though this is what Disney is trying to allege, that rises to this occasion. The claims are just really silly.
Let me take it to the nuclear level, because I think there is one more step ahead, and I want to know what you think about this.
Okay.
What happens if the state of Florida decides that they no longer believe that Reedy Creek and the Walt Disney Company are separate entities, and therefore they believe, let's say that the Attorney General finds this, or a special prosecutor, or whoever, maybe an appointed investigator. What if they decide that those bonds were issued in a fraudulent manner because they were not actually being issued by a government per se? What happens then in that theoretical scenario, which could actually happen?
It could, but the reason I think that wouldn't happen is because, again, at this point, those bonds are considered municipal bonds under the umbrella of the state of Florida. It's issued by a municipality, effectively, that Florida itself approved. These are not corporate Disney bonds. So for the state to come out and say that bonds that we sanctioned and declared, okay, and we're, I mean, that's everybody
would be in deep trouble at that point.
Yeah, I don't think the MSRB would go for that. The Municipal Securities Board. I don't see them going that far, and there's no need to either. So, for example, if they were to just completely dissolve the district, boundaries and all, right? This is what people were getting hyped up about. If that were to have happened, where they dissolved all the boundaries of the RCID, or what was there when they did this piece of legislation, and the bonds just basically, they have to get absorbed up at the state level. They're now bonds that have to be administered by the state. Our understanding, especially with Andrew's guidance on this, was that it doesn't matter even if the state of Florida has to take over the service of the debt. The only property that could be assessed and therefore taxed to pay the service on said debt is still the property that would have previously been inside of Reedy Creek, which is entirely Disney. So Disney would still have to pay the taxes to pay the debt service on it. It's just that the state of Florida would be administering it as opposed to RCID.
I see. Mm-hmm. Well, let's hit the last question. It looks like we lost Views with Hughes. I guess as Tom came in late, Views with Hughes is hopping out early. Maybe an internet connectivity issue. However, if he's able to rejoin, we'll get him back in the video for the answer to this question. This one coming to us from Rob Weisenhunt. Katie Sackhoff recently mentioned Bo-Katan's William Wallace speech being cut down considerably. She said that, as written, that speech added weight and context to the scene. All hail the hubris of trying to make the world's biggest intellectual property more accessible by dumbing it down. Now, Tom, you've paid a close attention to. Oh, here's Hugh's back with us. You've paid close attention to the Mandalorian and what's going on with the change in the tone. Tom, what do you think's going on with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy? What do you make of this situation where it just doesn't feel as polished or as well written as it was in the past?
Well, I don't mean to correct you, but I gotta say, yeah, I haven't really been watching the show per se, but I do know a lot of what's been going on behind the scenes, I guess, as far as seemingly from what we've been hearing and from what going along with what you've been reporting yourself, that Favreau has kind of checked out at this point. And that seems to be where a big change in tone is probably coming from. He's just going through the motions at this point because they've had to combine a lot of the ideas that they had left over from Rangers and some other and whatever else that was supposed to lead to into what was left here. And sounds like unless there's a season 4, I don't know how much Favreau has left to do on this because Filoni is the one overseeing Ahsoka and the final Mandalorian super movie Avengers thing. But now we're hearing.
Yeah, we've got information coming out about that now. Yeah, we'll cover that this weekend for sure.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. No, that's all I really can tell you about it is that clearly there's been a shift in power behind the scenes, and I don't think Favreau is really. I mean, he's there physically, maybe, but I don't think he's there mentally anymore.
Well, it's like going to a fine dining restaurant and being impressed over and over, and then you go back for a third time and you're served Chef Boyardee. It's just not somebody different is behind the kitchen doors. Now, Hughes, where we first detected that we were no longer receiving the best in quality was the Book of Boba Fett. That really was a huge warning sign. What do you think happened in terms of the Book of Boba Fett and then moving forward? Has Jon Favreau checked out? Is Kathleen Kennedy putting down mandates that are strangling these pieces of content? What's happening?
I've had to say all of the above. Jon Favreau, like Tom says, physically there but mentally checked out. It seems to me like he's not having as much fun as he has because Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy are basically stepping up, trying to ruin the whole franchise, trying to take credit of the success of Mandalorian, and then they just use Book of Boba Fett and season 3 of Mandalorian and just shut it all down. Just basically, putting down to the ground, burying it, and try to lead it into the Disney sequels of Star Wars, which really isn't Star Wars, by the way.
That tree that Luke and Yoda watched burn to the ground. So such is the franchise.
Yeah.
A moment of silence Hughes gives for Star Wars. Well, now, Valiant, do you have any final comments on this subject?
Well, I mean, look, Chris Gore and I, y'all know, I mean, we agree on it 100%. The best thing for Star Wars is to shut down completely. Don't put any new Star Wars content out. Stop it right now.
How long, Valiant? 3 years, 5 years? What are we saying?
10 years minimum.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you got to because you've broken it so badly. You can't come back that quick. If you want to be able to get people excited again, the problem is they've had so much bad content at this point. A couple of 2 or 3 years unless they go right back hard into the OG characters, like bring back Luke, like they don't want to do, and all this kind of stuff. Not as some little cameo, or or coming back as some Jake Skywalker or whatever. I don't see it happening. Maybe I'll go 5 years, but I think 10 would be better.
Valiant says, lock the gates to Galaxy's Edge, baby. Close it down. Turn off the lights.
No, you can keep Galaxy's Edge.
Really, they don't need it. Let's turn it off.
Change it into Tatooine. Just rebrand
I'll go with that one.
Give it the OG stuff, and then let that set. But I'm talking about actual cinematic content, which, well, they're already 4 years in at this point to that. No more TV shows. Turn all that off. As far as Ahsoka's concerned, look, that show is 100% Dave Filoni. I mean, he is the sole credited writer on it, He is the, John Favreau is not directing any episodes that we're as of yet aware of. We know he's an executive producer on it, but that's not terribly surprising. They've
Makes
been
it a
working
great
together.
test case, doesn't it, Valiant? Because we'll know now what's going on. Because if it's high quality, then it's not Filoni, perhaps. But we'll see what's going on based on Ahsoka, maybe.
I would say, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, just real quick, a lot of the other projects, if you look right now, Favreau has been shooting like The Mandalorian, the shows that he's been involved with as a principal architect of the show. They're getting shot on the volume and everything like this. One of the reasons that people liked things like Andor, and now they're doing with the Acolyte, is big sound stages, big location shoots. And the look is different. Everybody loved the way Andor looked because a lot of that was real. That was a lot of that scenery was in camera.
It just wasn't an audience.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, there's different styles going on right now, but I can't see Favreau hanging around if this is how things are going to continue over there.
Milk that contract. Hughes, last thought from you.
I was going to say the only way that they could stop is that they would try to get away from trying to appease California. But the thing is, they still have a lot of people working for Lucasfilm and everything, or should I say useless film, who are still pushing, limited, or in this case, unlimited, who are still pushing the same initiative to get people to go ahead and invest in something that not even they believe in. They're playing the cover that they believe in the whole diversity, equity, and inclusivity initiative. They claim to be promote deeply invested in the whole ESG model, but the problem is they're only using us and as well as those who actually believe in these things, just so that way they can go ahead and make money. But instead, they pushed out their core audiences, and those who actually believe in these things, they're not really buying this. Why? Because of the fact that they either seeing through them, or they just don't care about Star Wars, period.
There you go. Well, it feels like a lot of people don't care about Star Wars, period, both on the production side and on the viewership side. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here for this Cues from You video where members sent in their questions. It's proven to be a very popular type of video, and we love giving this to everybody. We trust our members to take the driver's seat on occasion with the channel. They do a fantastic job with it, and we're so pleased to have each and every single member with us. Folks, if you're considering becoming a member, remember that for just the price of a soda, you can hop in and get exclusive content and begin to help us navigate this big thing called YouTube. All right, Tom, where can people find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
Oh, you can find me at Midnight's Edge After Dark, and all those lovely places.
Link in the description. Hughes, where are you?
Y'all can find me on YouTube and Rumble. Views with Hughes or Jennifer News.
And Valiant Renegade, I heard you quit the internet. Is that right?
Completely.
All right, folks, that's it for us. We're all quitting the internet right now. Remember, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.